Hi, it's Mary, a traditional Chinese medicine tutor and an acupuncturist in Canada.
Today's video will discuss the long pulse and short pulse and their clinical indications. Two dangerous pulses, the Yi overflowing and the Fu covering pulse, or Yi Mai and Fu Mai in Chinese, are also compared with the long pulse.
The long pulse and the short pulse is identified by length, the length of the pulse.
Long pulse.
The long pulse, it stretches beyond the range of Chun Guan Chi portions, feeling like a long pole, very long one. Usually, the Chun is 0.9 chen, and the Chi is about 1 chen. So in total, is 1.9 chen in this area.
Of course, the trend used to measure the pulse length is based on the patient's bone length proportional measurement, not on the TCM practitioners.
Indications for the long pulse would be the Yang syndrome, heat syndrome, excess syndrome, or in a healthy person. The long pulse indicates the hyperactive Yang or exuberant heat. This hyperactive Yang and the exuberant heat mean a confrontation between the healthy Qi and the pathogenic factors. Consequently, the pulse is long and forceful, long pulse. They are beyond the range of the Chun Guan Chi. It's longer, it's extended. It must be associated with Yang. By now, we should be able to
Analyze everything with Yin-Yang.
Started from the concept of yin-yang, we can extend or infer many other things. So if it's longer, it must be yang there. Yang makes it longer. For healthy people whose qi and blood are sufficient, essence qi is abundant, vessel qi is abundant, and their circulation works well. In that situation, you can expect to see a long pulse as well. Usually that kind of long pulse accompanied by harmonious and forceful pulse. So-called harmonious is talking about the stomach qi. Whenever you say stomach qi, you're looking at something in harmony, in moderate, in balance, not too much, not too little, not too fast, not too slow, not too strong, not too soft, and the reason is even. That kind of pulse usually is a manifestation of a good state of body and the sun.
Short pulse.
The short pulse is shorter than the regular portion of Chun Guan Chi. Both its anterior part and the posterior part are short, and the pulse is only
Palpable
at the Guan portion, but recognizable at the Chun and the Chi portion. That's the short pulse. Very prominent in the Guan area. The Chun and the Chi, you can feel it, but it is not that recognizable. There's one kind of pulse. Only can feel it in the Guan portion. That's the moving pulse. Another type of pulse. Very, very short, like a bean. But this one is not as short as that, like a bean. It's shorter than the regular length. Even it's prominent,
palpable
at the Guan portion, but the Chun and the Chi portion, you can still feel a little bit. It is recognizable at the Chun and the Chi portion. This suggests a problem of Qi. It's either the Qi deficiency or Qi stagnation. Qi deficiency means Qi is weak, fails to promote blood circulation. The Qi and the blood cannot fill vessels. Therefore, the pulse is short and forceless. That's a deficiency type. But the excess type is the Qi stagnation, results in impeded Qi flow, and the vessels cannot be extended. So the pulse must be short and forceful.
Comparison between long pulse and short pulse.
Long pulse extends beyond the Chun Guan Chi portions and feel like a long pole, and the short pulse throbs to a shorter extent
impalpable
at the two ends of the Chun portion and the Chi portion. That's the two type of pulse. You palpate them from the angle of the length. even though your mind goes through the 8 elements, 8 perspective, but you feel the pulse is just regular, not feeling very long or not feeling short. If that is the case, you don't need to consider about it's a long pulse or short pulse. It's just regular pulse. When you palpate the pulse, there's something unusual popped out,
like standing out for the wrong reason. If you see a person coming in, if the person behaves normally,
you are not going to pay much attention to a regular person. However, this person come in limping, then you say, oh,
there's a leg problem.
that's why you look at the abnormal part and focus on the abnormal part of it. If you feel the pulse,
the speeds are regular, then you don't need to differentiate it's a slow pulse, rapid pulse, or raising pulse.
But your mind goes through all the aspects. Now your mind goes through the length. That's where you recognize the long pulse and the short pulse.
Attention, please.
When observing a patient's pulse length, it is essential to notice the influences of the relative finger sizes of the patient and the TCM practitioner. The distance between the 3 fingers should be adjusted according to a patient's height and the width of the practitioner's fingers. Otherwise, it may lead to a misjudgment of a long pulse or short pulse. For example, the patient's pulse length is normal, but the TCM practitioner is big and has thick fingers. So his 3 fingers, when put together to palpate the patient's pulse, will be longer than the patient's chun, guan, and chi, resulting in the wrong conclusion that the patient's pulse is short. Or, on the contrary, the TCM practitioner is short and has thin fingers, while the patient is big. If the practitioner places his fingers too densely, not keeping enough distance, it will give the illusion that the patient's pulse is long.
Differentiation between long pulse and Yi overflowing pulse and Fu covering pulse.
We know the long pulse is characterized by a longer pulse length, exceeding the 3 parts of chun, guan, and chi, like a long pole. There are 2 other pulses, the Yi overfloating pulse, Yi Mai in Chinese, and the Fu covering pulse, Fu Mai in Chinese, which also exceed the range of chun, guan, and chi. As these 3 pulses are similar in morphology, we will discuss the difference between the long pulse, the Yi overfloating pulse, and the Fu covering pulse here. Yi overfloating pulse is the pulse that exceeds the chun part to the thinner eminence, and the Fu covering pulse is the pulse that well exceeds the chi part to the elbow. Generally speaking, the degree of long pulse exceeding the 3 parts is less severe than the Yi overfloating and the Fu covering pulse. Besides, the Yi overfloating pulse is deep in the chi and the chun portions, but floating in the thinner eminence. The Fu covering pulse is floating in the chun and the chi, but deep beyond the chi, while the long pulse is usually not floating and not deep either, and can be felt by medium pressure. The clinical indication of the Yi overfloating pulse is similar to the syndrome of the abandoned yin internal accumulation and blocking the yang from going inside to reconcile with yin. The yang qi is forced to stay in the outer or upper part of the body, looking like the yang qi spills over the container of chun, guan, chi, and overflows outwards. Yi in Chinese means overfloating. The patient may also have symptoms of upper body heat and lower body cold. It is actually a false heat and true cold syndrome. Clinical indication of the full covering pulse is similar to the syndrome of the over-abundant yang accumulation outside and suppressing the yin in the lower or inner parts of the body. Thus, the yin cannot interact with yang qi. This situation looks like the abundant yang qi covers the yin and restrain the yin deep inside. Fu in Chinese means covering. Clinically, the patient may also have symptoms of upper body heat and lower body cold, or excessive heat drains in. Both the Yi overfloating pulse and the full covering pulse are signs of critical illness, representing a severe stage of disease and developing towards yin-yang separation. Yin-yang separation is a soft word for death in TCM. Clinically, these two pulses should be combined with other clinical manifestations to make a diagnosis and rescue as soon as possible. If you like today's video, please give me a like, subscribe to it, and share it with others. See you in my next video. All the best!